to the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. I'm Sheng Peng, editor-in-chief of San Jose Hockey Now. You can also find my work at NBC Sharks and on Twitter at Sheng_Peng.
And I'm Keegan McNally. You can find me on Twitter at _hockey, at my website, half-hockey.com, or at San Jose Hockey Now. This week, what do we got?
This week, we got a Rookie Faceoff reaction episode. I was in LA covering all the games. I'm sure you guys saw my video. And so want to get to all the prospects that really caught our eye at the Rookie Faceoff. Sharks had a dominant tournament. They won every game. They outscored teams 16-7. I wrote articles titled, "It's just Rookie Faceoff," but Sharks wiping teams off the map, and no one laughed because you know what? That's the excitement around the Sharks right now for Sharks fans. Again, I understand it's just Rookie Faceoff, but this kind of tournament, you expect the Sharks, as deep as their prospects pool is, to dominate, and they did. And every kind of expectation they did meet. Of course, there's much higher expectations from here. NHL, hopefully this is coming to the NHL arena near you soon, this kind of wagon. But it gives Sharks fans that have been in the dumps, in the dark for so long, something to be really, really excited about. And I think that this week definitely provided that.
And normally the Rookie Faceoff or Dev Camp scrimmages, you're kind of like trudging along, being like, all right, these are a bunch of guys that may not make the NHL ever. Like it starts to get the depth starts to really show. You've got like a couple of good prospects, and then some kind of in betweeners. And this one, it was like we had like 2-3 solid lines of good prospects, and then some great defensive prospects. And it really did. It felt like a different kind of prospect tournament than what I've remembered in the past, because it just felt so dominant from the Sharks, which was.
And when's the last time that we could say that the Sharks were dominant at any level, right?
Exactly. This is it. This is all we got. This is our Super Bowl. It's in September. It's our Super Bowl in September. But I think we're going to talk about each prospect that we have some things to say about, whether good or bad. Not each prospect, I'll say. Some prospects who didn't have full breakdowns of or enough to bring you an impression, but we have some good thoughts upcoming. And then, go ahead, Shang. You had a
thing? No. I was just looking at something. I interrupted you earlier, so yeah.
This is the lead-in that he wanted. Sometimes he leans in and wants to say something.
That's true. I do that.
But before that, we have a little news of the week. We're going to get a lot more news as we go in the next couple of weeks, because we're about to enter training camp.
Yeah, training camp in 2 days, Thursday. We're recording this on Tuesday.
I'm so excited. Hopefully they release the roster today or tomorrow.
Hopefully not as we're talking, though.
Yeah, it might be. Shoot, maybe we should have waited.
I'm going to check my phone.
Anyway, because, I think I saw the crack. No, it was Utah put out their roster today. So
they're coming out. They're coming out.
Anyway, before that, we have one news item of the week. There is a new host of the NBC Sharks pre- and post-game.
Yep. We talked about a couple weeks ago the NBC parting ways with Brody Brazil. I know Brody Brazil, very popular with a lot of the fans here. They have brought on Alan Hoshida. Alan Hoshida actually was on some Sharks, I think, pre-game, post-game last year. I think he might have been talking about the Barracuda prospects, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Alan is a lifelong Sharks fan. I think that's really, really important to Sharks fans, because that's one of the things that's mentioned a lot with them letting Brody go, because Brody, of course, was a heart on his sleeve Sharks and Oakland A's fan. And that's one of the major sort of regrets or things that it's sorrowful to lose a guy like Brody, because there aren't a lot of advocates for the Sharks in the media in the Bay Area. But in Allen, though, they found somebody else who is going to be, I think, a big-time advocate for the Sharks, a lifelong Sharks fan. Like I said, he's from Gilroy. And so I would say that I know a lot of Sharks fans, they are going to miss Brody, and give Allen a shot. So that's all I'll say. I think that Allen should do a very good job there. And I think, like I said, they did do a good job of making sure to hire somebody that I think can form a connection with the fans like Brody did.
I don't know much about Allen. I think maybe I've seen him a few times on TV, possibly. I'm excited. I mean, lifelong Sharks fan. It's going to be, I think, a little bit bumpy, and it's going to feel different for many, probably weeks, until it starts to become more routine, hopefully, and that's what you want is to start to
Brody
rub
and
her in.
Brownie, Hoshida and Hannon. Well, there you got the
Whoa,
alliteration going though, right there.
I love it. Yeah, we did. I guess we had like then we already covered that with Hannon and a bunch of other guys getting announced.
Yeah.
For
Jason
next year.
Demers is gonna
Yep.
jump on. Jamal Mayers, right? They're both
Yep.
going to be on the game broadcast. I know. Jason was part of. JD was part of the pregame and postgame last year, but yeah.
Yeah. So we still got lots of good former Shark content as well.
Right. Oh, and then one note actually in the in the press release that's kind of buried is that specifically Dan Boyle is going to be joining more on the pregame, postgame side. And I don't know how many he's going to do. I think I remember they made a big deal a couple years ago. He was jumping on. He did like one episode and he's
like, you know what? Let Danny go. We have.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go fishing for 6 months.
Well, this is a great segue because he's coming back because he's going to watch the new Danny Boyle in the Cagnonis.
Let's not put down Luca. Poor Luca. He doesn't deserve that. That's too much to put on him.
The new Danny Boyle. No, I'm kidding. But yes, we had a great time watching these games, and I think it should start with Cagnoni as our first prospect to talk about, because
there's big news about it.
Yes, exactly. Because there's, according to one Shangpang and sources,
that's me.
The expectation is for Luca Cagnoni to stay with the Barracuda or stay pro this year rather than go back to juniors for his. He will be 19, turning 20 this year, which is cool. I said, I think 5-6 months ago that I would want him to go back to juniors based on how he played, even though he did have an excellent season, but. Watching him, he does look ready, like for the next step. He really does show, especially offensively, just how smart he is and how well he can move the puck above other Sharks defenders in the system, and he's doing it above everybody else that we've got on the Barracuda and in juniors. So I think he's probably ready.
Well, in the tournament, so
yeah, we don't have Mukabadula or Thrun weren't involved, so
yeah, Thompson too. Thompson actually is very good at the AHL level.
Everybody who was there, I guess, would be the best way to put it. I think I said that too. If he comes in and he shows that he's just ready, then he's ready. And it looks like he is. No, not ready for the NHL. I meant ready for the AHL versus the WHL. So.
Yeah, it sounds like the plan has been set though for him to do that. That is indeed the Sharks' plan. So unless he is awful in training camp, which I would not expect, that they're gonna give it a shot. Oh, one thing I want to add to before we start off too is that we're going to talk about a bunch of the prospects. We're going to go sort of in ABC also by positional order. So we're going to go defense and then forward. So just wanted to mention that before we kind of get rolling here. With Cagnoni though, personally, I don't know about you, but I expect that there's going to be a huge adjustment period from the WHL to the AHL, 5'9" defenseman. And if he doesn't produce so much in, like, say, the first half of the season, I wouldn't be really that concerned, honestly. You do want to see him get better. You want him, I think, by the second half of the season to be kind of taking over. And maybe he blows doors off expectations, but I do kind of want to lower them from Danny Boyle. Dan Boyle-like expectation.
It was very, very tongue-in-cheek.
I know. But I see people write
it is on Twitter all the time.
And I know he is the size of Dan Boyle, but I'm not sure if there's that much more similarity though. But anyway, though, yeah, I don't really have. I don't know what I feel like we've been asked this before. I don't know what I've said. I don't remember what I've said about it before. I don't really have a strong opinion about him going back to the WHL or him in the AHL. It depends on what the Sharks think. And so it is a good sign that the Sharks seem to think that he's ready for pro hockey. If the Sharks were more worried about something, then they might push him back, but they aren't, and so that's good. I also wonder if that could be a signal for a different philosophy for the organization, because previously they were famous for giving, at least famous in the Sharks community, for giving guys their overage season, guys like Blickfeld, like Rager. And those guys all dominated their overage seasons, even though it didn't translate to a ton of NHL success. But I don't think that held them back from NHL success in any sort of way, giving them their overage seasons. But the Sharks were kind of known for doing that under the Wilsons. And so I do wonder if that could be a shift under Mike Greer. I don't know. We don't know. This is sort of maybe like the first time this has really come up, maybe. At least the prospect of this kind of caliber. Who has already done a lot in juniors. But I would say again though that I would caution that of course I liked what I saw during Rookie Faceoff. Handled the power play beautifully. The Sharks power play probably was running at like 70% or something. Between him and Will Smith, they were both great, exquisite on the power play. But it's a far cry this level WHL to AHL.
Yeah.
And so I would expect a comfortable kind of adjustment period for Luca, and I don't think that's a bad thing. By the way, again, I want to reemphasize that. So if he has like through 30 games, he has like 10 points or something like that. I'm just kind of throwing out a number. I don't think that's like a red alert or anything like that.
What I'm going to be looking for more than just the points is just him staying in the lineup. Like I just want him to be in the AHL rather than the ECHL or what have you, or just being sat a lot. So if he's sitting, I think it kind of is a little bit of a wasted opportunity. But it's obviously it's going to be on merit. So he's got to earn his spot he's got to keep up with it physically, and that's the thing that at a 5'9" defenseman that you really hope from. And he's not a physical defender either. So like he's not like 5'9" but bowls people over or anything. He's kind of less physical defender in general, the way that he defends in his own zone. So it's going to be, I think it will be an adjustment, but I think more than points, I just want him to stick in the lineup and get the experience.
I think it'll be impressive if he is a regular Barracuda defenseman, because they have a lot, any NHL team has a lot of competition for a nightly lineup spot. I would say though that even if he stays up and he's not playing though, that he can work on his game at practice. That's a nice thing about the AHL, that all the games are on the weekend, so you have a whole week to kind of practice. And so again, I'm not too worried if he's in the lineup so much. More that again that I want to see him get demonstrably better from day one of camp to the end of the season, particularly a guy like him.
Yeah. And I do want to see some opportunities on the power play throughout the year. Maybe not right away, because there are now the Barracuda defense has been improved a little bit at least. From the beginning of last year.
Yeah, Carlson, Carlson, Thompson.
Yep.
Maybe Mukamadulin, but we both think that Mukamadulin will make the NHL roster. So let's say it is Carlson and Thompson. They're going to be already ahead of Cagnoni on a power play. He'll have to take their spots. And it'll be impressive if he does, because those guys are both pretty successful AHL defensemen. Very successful, not even pretty, very successful AHL defensemen, also AHL defensemen. So, he'll definitely need to kind of carve out a spot, maybe on PP2, and go from there.
I think there was, before the rookie face-off tournament, there was some scuttle that maybe he would be coming to the Barracuda because the Portland Winterhawks didn't have him on their roster or whatever.
Right.
So
those might have been some signs.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's been kind of planned for. If this was like a, oh shit, you're ready kind of thing when they saw him today, or yesterday and everything. But he looked good. Like I honestly, he moved the puck super well. He's very calm. I love how calm Cagnoni is. He doesn't panic. He holds the puck well, even if he's under pressure, and he moves it super well in the power play specifically. So,
what would you say this level of play is like comparatively? I should have asked the scout that this weekend. Is this like World Juniors kind of level? Because these are like kind of the best players in a lot of cases.
I feel
this is definitely better than WHL, because WHL you have a lot of guys who will never even sniff pro hockey playing out there. In this case, all these guys are in pro hockey or are serious contenders to get a pro hockey contract. And
I think it's a little less than World Juniors, or maybe
a little less. Okay.
Some of the teams are not as deep, and then also the teams that are at World Juniors, typically they've played together for like ever, and they even if they are like lesser known players. They've been together with the same group for so long. The teams are better.
One argument though for maybe this being comparable though is that World Juniors is obviously that age limit. So here you have a lot of older, stronger players too. So this is kind of comparable to NCAA in that way, because you have players who are 25 in this tournament. Lucas Van Robles on the Sharks team. He's a Barracuda signing. He's 25. So that's.
But and
evens
typically those players typically do pretty well. Like the older guys, the 22, 23-year-olds that are kind of just hanging around with the rookies who are trying to break in. So yes and no. I think there's some competition that's better, and then certain guys can do better. But I feel like the top teams like USA and Canada and Sweden and Finland, the depth is there, and they're good hockey players. That I would say that those are better teams.
The Sharks are kind of like a Team USA, Team Canada. Yeah. They have 5 first-round picks in the lineups.
They killed it. Like they did really well. And we only got one game of who we're going to talk about in a minute of Celebrini,
right?
But or in a little bit we're going to talk about him. But yeah, it was good to see.
Is the Death Star fully operational? What do you think?
Really close. We need one more.
Of course, we know what happened to the Death Star. So
yeah. Yeah, we need one more defender, I think, and then we've got
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert twice actually. 3 times if you count the Death Star and the new franchise, because it's basically just a big Death Star. It's a Death planet.
What do they call it in the Force Awakens? I forget.
Star Killer Base.
Oh, okay.
Bam. I'm a huge nerd.
Oh, I am too. So that's why. Look at this.
That's beautiful.
Hey, let me unzip the reveal.
Oh my! It's okay. I'm wearing a Chateau Picard shirt, which looks like.
I did not realize that. I just saw the Chateau part. Oh,
it looks like just a regular. It looks like a regular wine shirt, but it's
my shirt. I could get at Target. This stuff you only can get online or at conventions. I bet.
Yeah, I get a monthly Star Trek T-shirt sent to me.
Wow.
So I've been doing this
I can't out-nerd that.
It's basically a random T-shirt. I don't know what it's gonna be. And Amazon sent it to me. It's like $20 a month or something. Yeah. But half of them, at least half, are like total crap. They're like a picture of a Klingon with some, like, it just looks like shit. Yeah. But some of them are actually really good. Like this one, I really like.
I like this one. What's the picture or what's the image? I can't see the.
So it's just like the vineyard underneath.
Oh, okay. It's very, very subtle, right? Okay. Yeah. I like it, because if it's just a big picture of Jean-Luc Picard, it's just like,
it's going to be a weirdo.
Yeah, that's like too dorky. You want to be like subtle. This is actually probably too dorky because, I walk around and people are shouting, "Hey, Superman."
Yeah, so the ones that are like subtle like this that you can kind of wear and nobody realizes that you're wearing, I like them. But the other half, I end up like just donating them. Because I'm like, I don't know.
Pay attention to your shirts from now on. I like that. Yeah.
I've definitely worn Star Trek T-shirts on here before. All right. So Cagnoni, anything else to say about him?
I'm an original series fan, by the way, just so everybody knows. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, that's probably Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek, but I do like original series a lot. That was what got me into Star Trek, was the original series. In medical school, I was I had never watched Star Trek before. I think I had seen the new movie that had come out, and that was it.
The 2009 one, the Chris Pine one? Okay.
With Chris Pine. And I was like, this was pretty good. But then I was trying to put stuff on to distract me, and eventually just put on the original series on Netflix and watched all of it, and then watched every other series afterwards.
By the way, doesn't the Cagnonis, doesn't that sound like some kind of alien race on the original Star Trek?
Yeah, the Cagnonis. Yeah, they're always known for their tricks, those Cagnonis.
Yeah.
Very small aliens. He's not that small. I mean, he's small, but yeah. I mean, I think there is a place in the NHL for that kind of defender. Like it just,
there is.
He's got to make his way, and I'm excited to see him in pro hockey.
Yeah, I will say too that you guys saw me shoot a lot of videos, so I was always on the side that the Sharks were shooting on, so that meant that I couldn't really see what was going on the defensive side. So you had to take a little bit of. I'm not going to get too nitty gritty with the defense here because I honestly couldn't see it that well. And I'm still talking with scouts, getting their opinions. I don't have a full sense of what they saw yet. So for me, I'm gonna have a much better sense of Cagnoni when I see him in preseason, which will be better too, because that's a lot closer to the level he had to face. That is AHL level competition with obviously some superstars mixed in there too. That he'll be facing preseason. This level is still whatever it is, World Junior caliber or thereabouts. It's still not close to what he's going to be facing in the American League this year. So that's when I'm really going to be honing in on that. And I will have to shoot video because the stream will be very good for the preseason games.
Yeah. Our next defender is one Sam Jose Dickinson.
Yeah, I like that. I kept asking questions about that. I love that so much. So credit to his agent. I guess
it's really good.
Sam said his brother started running with it and his brother's friends. Drew Remenda popularized it on the broadcast. So credit to Drew there. But anyway, that's hilarious. Love his personality. I'll just say about his game that he definitely got better and better as the tournament went on. You could see he was taking over by the last couple of games there, just using that combination of size, speed, and just bullying his way down the wing. And all the good stuff that you want to see from him in this tournament, I think you did. I think you did see some things that are the things he needs to work on, some errant passes, some not always on defending, but all of the physical package, though, I did see in this tournament.
Yeah, he kind of feels like a guy that needs a lot more reps, both offensively and defensively, to really to mold it, right? Like he's very raw, but he did show super well, and especially that second game. And I really liked it. He defended a 2-on-1 beautifully that I saw that I was like, oh wow, he didn't panic. He kept up with this guy. He used his skating, which is arguably his biggest strength, even though he is a great size and strength defender. But his skating is fantastic for how big he is. So
it is.
I'm really excited about just the growth that he had. I agree that it's not like he was like horrible offensively. It's just sometimes he just makes really dumb passes or just doesn't connect on his man, and his accuracy is a little off, and doesn't take the time to read or use his feet instead of just like delaying with the puck. So, but towards the end, he was getting a little bit more reps on that. I think it just takes time. But he kind of reminds me ultimately of a guy that if everything comes together and he cleans up his passing and he starts to really get into game speed, that he could really be like a solid number 2 defender in your system. And I think that's what they drafted him for. Was they wanted to be top 4, obviously, but if everything works out, I think he's going to be like that rock solid lefty number 2 defender. It feels
right.
Like.
I mean, I think they hope that he can be a number 1 guy. A lot of the tool set is there for that.
Yep.
But yeah, there are things to clean up, but there is a lot to like there. And
Sam Jose.
Yep, Sam Jose.
I love it. I do. I understand why they made that pick, and it's awesome to get that kind of caliber defender into your system. It just adds to this entire Death Star that we're creating. Anything else on Sam Jose other than he?
Great overall personality though. His interview that we did post game, you can see that he has, and he was on our pod too. He was a terrific interview too. Great sport, and you could see he has a big smile, great personality, and so he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be fun to have around too. And so look forward to that part of that with him.
Really hoping for some, and he's going to a great program. Or going back to a great program. So it's
strong program.
Yeah, so he's got all the guidance he's going to need there to really take over the OHL and mold his game even further. He needs some refinement though. He's not like, oh, we're going to have Sam Dickinson in the lineup, this year. He needs time.
Yeah, you see the tools and you think, his skating, his size, his strength is probably can cut it at the NHL, but all these little details though.
Sure.
There's a lot to kind of work on there, but I think he will work on it, and I think that he is a guy that maybe might need to HL a little bit too, just to kind of get up to speed, kind of move up from OHL to AHL to NHL instead of going directly from OHL to the NHL. And I think that's gonna be okay. But again, though, these kind of tournaments, you just want to see a guy like that be as good as his draft position, and I think he definitely was. So no concern there. It's only really a concern if you expect a guy to be good. It's only a concern if he's not good. And Sam was very good.
Yeah, I think it was Cam Robinson who put out. I think it was Cam. Somebody on Twitter was like, "Remember, if your favorite prospect plays well, he's going to be a superstar. If he doesn't play well this tournament, he's going to be a bust." So that's the overreactions that we should have on this tournament. And if he played just fine, I think he's going to be just fine. But yeah, like Sam Dickinson a lot. We're just going in alphabetical order. So the next defenders are Artem Guryev, which is didn't notice him on the ice.
He didn't play.
Yeah. So tell us about Artem. Why didn't Artem play?
I just wanted to remind. I mentioned it in my story yesterday, but Artem is coming back from shoulder surgery. He had season-ending shoulder surgery last year, and he did practice. I saw him. He looked good in practice, and think that just wanted to rest it a little longer before main training camp on Thursday. So no concern there if you're wondering why he didn't play. And also, too, he's another guy with a great personality, too. Got to chat with him a little bit during Rookie Faceoff. And also, I talked with him a lot last year, too, or a little bit last year. And so look forward to him coming back. Hopefully, he can come back strong this year because he's a guy, when he is on his game, that he is definitely a fan favorite. We've talked a lot about his physicality. And so hopefully the Barracuda can see that this year.
Yeah, that guy could hit through a brick wall.
Yep.
And then another
with a smile.
With a smile afterwards. Speaking of big defenders, we had Braden Hache play in this tournament. He's a 6'3" defender for the Barracuda.
Yep.
Originally was
just came up Saginaw. Yeah.
Yep, originally was a draft pick of the Panthers, but I guess.
Oh, was he really? I did not know that. Okay.
No, he was 2021 7th round pick by the Panthers. So I guess they had let his rights lapse from the OHL last year. It would have been end of 2023. He had 22 points in 65 games for Saginaw last year, and he's going to be playing for the Barracuda next year.
He was the captain of the Memorial Cup winning Saginaw Spirit.
Yeah, I thought he looked okay. Like I think. It's tough because he's got obviously the guys ahead of him, like Dickinson and Cagnoni, are going to take a majority of the offensive chances, but he didn't look terribly out of place offensively. I mean, his game is really simple. It's like get the puck, shoot on net as quickly as possible. It felt like offensively at least, but defensively he looked solid-ish. He moved okay for a guy his size. I wanted to shout him out because I felt like he kept up pace pretty okay.
John McCarthy shouted him out, too. After every game, we asked John, because obviously the Sharks have the big name prospects, and you don't want to just ask about those guys, too. You want to ask about other guys. And so after every game, we asked John, any under-the-radar guys kind of jump out for you? And John consistently said, well, everybody was good, and every Shark was good in this tournament. That's when you outscore the three teams 16-7. You outshoot them by quite a lot, too. That everybody was good, but he did mention Hache in particular after the last game. And also, too, I learned from Ethan Cardwell in a story I did about the vibes and the good times from Rookie Faceoff that Hache is actually a very good beach volleyball player. It turns out that some of the some of the Sharks prospects were walking around where the games were held. Where it was in El Segundo, which is right by LAX, right by the beach. It's where the Kings practice, the Toyota Sports Performance Center. And so anyway, the prospects found themselves, 6 to 8 of them, Ethan said, by the beach, and they're walking around, and they saw some beach volleyball, and they asked them, "Hey, can we borrow your ball?" And they just started playing, and it turns out that Braden is excellent. Obviously 6'3", he's got the height, and so he's very good at it, according to Ethan Cardwell.
That's why we're keeping him around. And he's not he's only 21, so he's still got some time to grow his game a little bit. Obviously, he's not going to be putting up tons of points ever at the pro level, but yeah, it's always good to see these guys picked up off of. Not I don't know what to call
well, it's a very solid project.
Free agent pile.
Yeah, it's a very solid project. He's a guy, you look at a lot of the intangibles, he's got that in terms
Mhm.
of being a captain,
Sure.
and he's a guy that he's going to work his ass off to try to convert himself to an NHL contract. And
Yep.
there are stories of guys who do that, obviously.
Sure.
And so he's as good a candidate as any. He was a very good signing. I think I kind of heard around, I don't know, this might have just been like among like other media people or whatever. But some people were kind of surprised that he signed with the Bear. He just kind of because he signed very quickly,
Mhm.
and so that was something that I think I heard mentioned. Oh, they were a little surprised he signed so quickly. That maybe if he had waited, maybe he would have got a better offer. Maybe he could have gone to a different team. But who
Sure.
knows? But either way, though, he sounds like a pretty solid project for the Sharks organization to maybe mold him into a useful AHL defenseman.
And the Barracuda defense, like we've already mentioned, is going to be kind of packed. But
Mm.
we'll see how many stick with the Barracuda or have to go to the ECHL for a little bit.
Right. Obviously, yeah. So Hache may end up doing that, but that's okay though. So just
Sure.
get games in, get reps, and get better.
Got two more defenders to talk about in Laroque and Pulli. I just wanted to say that it was awesome to see Laroque back on the ice, and he looked okay. Like I mean, he looked pretty good. His foot speed is the thing that we always talk about with Laroque. It wasn't horrible. I think his backward skating needs a little bit of help still, but I felt like he made some good reads and he jumped in offensively, and that's kind of like his game. He really likes to jump in. He likes to pinch and be involved offensively, even if he doesn't have the best feet. So it's a interesting mix because he's not the kind of guy that like you would expect to with like his skating, but
Well, it worked in the WHL, so
exactly
maybe he still needs to learn to pick his spots at a higher level. That's with a lot
possibly.
of prospects, and let's not forget that Gannon missed a lot of time the last 2 years. He
Yeah.
played just 22 games the last 2 years. I
Yep.
think it was 4 with the Royals, 9 with Wichita, and 9 with the Barracudas. That's not a lot of game action to get your reps in. Good news is we talked to Gannon, and he reported that this is the healthiest he's been in 3 years. That even
Yeah.
includes his last season or his last full season with Victoria when he really broke out for them and got himself into kind of contention to go to Canada or to represent Canada at World Juniors. And that's how well he played in 21-22. He was a little banged up that year, he says. So hopefully this is a good sign. We've had a bunch of, I'll say, stops and starts with him where
Yes.
he's looked really healthy and we're hoping for a lot in a preseason and it doesn't quite work out. Really nice kid, obviously. So hopefully it does work out for him. We'll just kind of wait and see. He is, like you said, one of the many guys kind of vying for time on the CUDA
Yep.
/ Thunder.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him just because of
Yeah.
how long his journey has been, and he looked good. I mean, he looked back up to game speed rather than a little behind when I've
Yeah,
seen him
he
in the
did look
past.
behind with the Barracuda last year, but don't blame him, obviously.
Yeah, of course, he takes time, and last year they probably used it as more of a rehab and retool year for him. So got a full season to try it again. Okay, and then last thing Pulli. Pulli's kind of like, I don't know. I just wanted to mention him because Valtteri Pulli is kind of the, how do I describe it? Like, not unsung, but like nobody ever really talks about Valtteri Pulli.
Well, he's a guy that people forget that the Sharks signed to a contract. To be honest, no
Yeah.
offense, Valtteri. He's a very nice guy, but
Yeah.
I think people don't realize that not only is he with the Barracuda, but he actually is signed to the Sharks.
Yeah, like he has an NHL contract.
Yep.
I thought he looked good. I mean, he's older this term. He's 23.
Yeah, he's 23, so a little bit older.
But he has quickness. He's obviously great size. Wasn't out of place either. But I think as a 23-year-old defender with pro experience all the way in Finland and also the Barracuda last year, he should do well at this tournament to defend a lot of guys off. But he looked good. So, and I just I didn't remember him having. I wouldn't say skating's excellent, but it's pretty good, and I didn't think that was always the case with him. So.
Well, that was his profile. That he skated
Yeah.
pretty well for a big man, so maybe he's improved
Sure.
that over the year.
Looked good.
Also, too, maybe getting used to just the small ice. But he did talk about that, how he prefers the small ice in North America to the bigger ice in Finland, and maybe he's learned to play with more pace. That makes him look faster, is what I mean. with his skating.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he is one of those guys. He profiles as one of those guys that surprisingly in mid-season he's actually doing a decent job. Like he gets called up and he actually is okay as like a bottom pairing defenseman.
Yeah, or
He
replacement
profiles
guy.
as that kind of guy. So I'm not counting him out by any stretch. When I said that, you kind of forget about him there. That's not any disservice meant to him. So we again, he's one of those guys that we will see. He definitely did not like seize a spot with the Barracuda last year where you like, oh, he's one of the top prospects on the Sharks. So he did not do that, but he profiles this guy that could be a sneaky contributor to an NHL team if everything kind of works out, if he is indeed better this year. And we will see about that.
What was super interesting was the EP Rinkside put out their like best prospect pools in the NHL or whatever, and the Sharks got number one because obviously we're number one. And we have Celebrini and Smith all not playing in the NHL yet, and it's all rules.
Askarov,
yeah. But anyway, Valtteri Pulli was 23. He was the last person mentioned by their team there, which I thought was interesting.
No, I actually haven't read the whole article. What did they say about him?
I said, in a system full of overwhelmingly skilled players with loud skill sets, Pulli's a simple and sophisticated but effective game, almost a breath of fresh air. No frills here. He's a shutdown defenseman. Skill level may not be sufficient for even a third pair roles in everyday NHLer, but these type of reliable physical shutdown presence you want is organizational depth. So what we were saying, like, call in guy and go, oh, wow, yeah, actually, he looks all right.
Yeah, as long as he can make that first pass, then he could have an NHL career.
Yeah, that's what basically what they were saying. So I just didn't, when I was reading through that article, I was like, oh, Valtteri Pulli. I forgot about him.
Oh, we have him, yeah.
yeah, he's here. Brandon Coe is 22 on that list. All right, that's all of our defenders. Anybody else that you can think of that we're missing?
Those are the main guys that we thought to talk about. So I know there are other defenders who are out there, so no disrespect to them, but those are the main guys that sort of caught our eye. So.
Yeah, and guys like Miskey and Roberts have next year to impress us as well, so maybe we'll have more to say about them next year. For the forwards, we're going to start off with the biggest name at the tournament, Nolan Burke.
Oh, yes.
Shout out Nolan. That's for you, buddy.
Oh, hey, Nolan did a good job in this tournament. Scored a couple goals there, often in a bottom six role too. He did get some second unit power play time, but he showed something in this tournament. We talked with him before Rookie Faceoff, and he contended that last year he played mostly in the ECHL after signing an NHL contract with the Predators. So you kind of think, oh, kiss of death for a guy to spend for an NHL prospect to spend skater, not a goalie, skater to spend most of the season with the ECHL affiliate. But he says that he played hurt last year and that he didn't quite have kind of the power in his skating and that sort of thing. And there is a reason why the Predators signed him to an NHL contract. They didn't sign him to an NHL contract to send him to the ECHL. They thought that he could obviously be one day. He had his last season in Sarnia had a very good season. He scored over 50 goals. True. And so he says that he was not playing with a full deck last year. He still played through it. But anyway, what we saw in this tournament, again, the competition is lower, but he had a very good tournament and gives you reason to think that, okay, maybe he isn't just a throw-in the Askarov trade, that maybe he has a at least a hint, a glimmer of an NHL future. So interested to see what he brings, if he can break camp with the Barracuda this year, and how much he plays in the Barracuda as opposed to the Thunder, and if he can kind of establish himself as a kind of he does strike me as kind of player that needs to be in a scoring role. So it was kind of discouraging to see his numbers with the ECHL, and he wasn't that productive in the ECHL either with the Atlanta Gladiators. Yeah. And so let's see what he does with the Barracuda, and let's see if he can kind of up that. So he had a good start though to his Sharks career right here in the Rookie Faceoff.
He did look good. My headcanon.
Good tenacity. I thought he was pretty tenacious out there.
Yeah, my headcanon is because Igor Afanaseyev signed in Russia and didn't come over for the Sharks from the Ozzy Weisblatt trade to Nashville, that we got Nolan Burke for Ozzy Weisblatt. I don't think that's the case, but I'm going to make it so.
Is that your conspiracy theory? Okay.
It's not conspiracy. It's more just like how I'm going to remember it in my brain.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay.
in case Ozzy Weislett turns out to be something in Nashville. But apparently, yeah, Ozzy actually scored a goal this weekend, and there was an interview I watched of him where he was talking about the possibility of like an NHL call-up or something like that with Nashville. So,
Okay.
yeah, he's apparently doing well.
Good for Ozzy.
Yeah, it's going to be
great
fun to see. Anyway, but Nolan Burke, he, if he wasn't playing healthy, hopefully this year he can. I would say there are a lot of forwards for the Barracuda, but I don't think it's as packed as the defense. Just looking at it from like the surface level, so there is an opportunity, I think, for him to get into the lineup more regularly. Hopefully. Yeah,
maybe adjust his game a little bit too, so he can fit in a little more on a bottom line, but add some offense. Still be a very valuable player that way.
Yep. All right. Next one. Actually, this might be the name of the tournament. Ethan Cardwell. I'm just gonna until we get to Celebrini. I'm gonna keep calling every player.
It's just ABC order, right? It's not hard to figure out when Celebrini's coming up. So Ethan, I thought, was very, very impressive in this tournament. He was a game-changing player in this tournament, but again, he's 21. He already scored 20-plus goals in pro hockey last year with the Barracuda, and so you would expect him to be excellent in this tournament, and he was. I think his game, because of his speed and directness and his relative strength to his size, he is a smaller player, that he is kind of a dark horse guy for me to break camp with the Sharks. So I don't think he will. I think the Sharks' bottom six is too jammed up. But he's a guy that I think has a somewhat like a more linear path to the NHL. Because you can kind of put him maybe on a fourth line and see how he does there. He's a guy that if he kind of a cliche, but if he hits his potential, he's a guy that can play up and down a lineup, and he kind of fits in, and he can, in theory, fit in different roles, from a kind of a scoring role to just a grinding role. That's how his game kind of translates to me. And so I thought he looked very good. John McCarthy said that he's even stronger than he was last year. At least his appearance and the testing probably bears that out too. And he did a good job, I think, as sort of a captain. He was alternate captain, and also to taking a leadership role in terms of helping guys out, rookie faceoff neophytes or whatever, right? And I did a story about that. Seemed like he did a good job with that part of it too, and so he's going to be a good guy to have in a room. And I would predict that he has a very good season. I know you had a very strong prediction for him. He's going to have a good season at Barracuda, and he should be a late season NHL call-up.
Yeah, I feel like in some ways Ethan's kind of I don't know, because we talked with Todd Marchand on our first ever episode of this podcast.
Well, first and 50th, I think.
And 50th, about Ethan Cardwell. So he kind of feels like the patron saint of this podcast. Like he's the epitome of
the podcast is growing up with him.
Exactly. We're growing up with him, and he has his own podcast too. So it really makes a lot of sense to me. So I really want him to make it into the NHL. I do think, though, that if he stays the majority of the year on the Barracuda, that I said that he's very possible that he could be the Barracuda leading scorer at the end of the year.
I can see that.
If Gushchin has got like time in between
or
NHL and
AHL
or boards, then he's kind of the guy that's like, he's not a natural scorer, but a good
bold
scorer.
Because Polorowski's down there. Polorowski has led the AHL in scoring, the entire AHL in scoring.
I'm gonna need some help with that one.
Maybe he'll be the leading winger.
Yeah, or leading guy under 22.
Right.
Anyway,
but he looked good, right? He looked good.
He really did,
as he should have. But he looked like very, very good in this tournament.
I agree. He didn't look out of place in that up and down the lineup aspect of him, where he could, not that he's gonna be the guy on a Celebrini Smith line or whatever, but or Bstad or whoever is more skilled than him traditionally, but that he can play with them and he can get the puck. And ever since juniors, he's been a super good retriever of the puck. This is like his hallmark, is his retrieval skills, and he's just continued to bear that out in the AHL as well. So it's really helped his game and made it so that, I'm thinking he's getting call-ups this year, hopefully. And he makes his showbound debut, which we need to, I don't know. Right. He's bound at that point, I don't know.
But one of the things that was impressive, I mean, not just Cardwell, not just Celebrini, but the entire tournament, This was like watching what teams were doing to the Sharks last year. Other
Hmm.
teams couldn't get out of the defensive zone against the
Sure.
Sharks forecheck. If they did get out of the defensive zone, they were often stopped in the neutral zone. They were stopped up in the neutral zone by the Sharks defense or the back checking forwards. It just was an impressive display up and down the lineup. And
Yeah.
Cardwell is an example of that. Like you mentioned, his retrieval skills, but also to just that forechecking and just that tenacity that he showed. It was really just I know it's just rookie face off, but like it wasn't just the goals they put up. They were just dominating opposition. Even the Utah game that they only won 3-2, Celebrini's only game, they outshot the Utah Hockey Club 47-20. And so anyway, it just was fun to watch. I have not seen the Sharks do that at any level
I
on a
know.
regular basis
Hmm.
in a few years at preseason at because even the games they had good preseason records, they weren't they weren't beating teams in the trenches, I
Yep.
guess.
Yep.
And this again, just rookie face off, but they were beating team in the trenches throughout this tournament. And if it is easy to get excited and think, wow, if some of this shows up 3 years from now, and some of these guys obviously will be there 3 years from now, Celebrini, Smith, hopefully Cardwell
Hmm.
and Dickinson and guys like that, Musty, right? That yeah, it was just I just didn't know what I was watching there. I'm used to watching a lot of backwards primitive hockey
Sure.
from Teal and from Team Teal, and definitely did not see that. So anyway,
Let's talk about the man of
are we
the hour,
Finally here. Okay.
the prospect of the tournament, um, Van Roboys. No, Macklin Celebrini. We're gonna talk. Well, we should probably shout out Van Roboys as well, just because I feel
He
like
was good in this tournament.
he did
He
good.
definitely the second game,
Sure.
or was the first game? I think it was the second game. They started off a little bit slow,
Yep.
and yeah, they had their penalties and whatever, right? But it was that line. It was Van Roeblois. I think it was Granger,
Hmm.
and it was Wesh. Wesh was the young guy on the line, and they were doing a great job. They were the third line, I think. They were doing what you want a third line to do, to kind of momentum, shift the momentum, grind opposition, not let them out, forecheck the hell out of them. They again,
Yeah.
rookie face-off, but they were doing exactly what you want a third line to do when you're taking too many penalties, you're giving them power play, you're keeping the other team in the game.
Yeah. Macklin Celebrini.
Finally.
All right. Mac. We only got one game of Mac. I think
All we needed.
all we needed really. It became readily apparent. Like the speed at which he does everything is just so impressive. And not just how quick he is as a skater, but how quick he processes and makes plays and gets open, and the way he catches the puck is in like in his skates and in transition. His puck
Mm,
catching is so good. It's like one of the things that helps him be just a transition monster, because like
right.
even if his teammate hits him with a shit pass, it's like he's gonna grab that puck and transition it right afterwards and keep possession and then make a play happen. It's for a guy who's like just turned 18 and everything. It's just so good to see, like, this is the next superstar for the Sharks, and it felt like it in that one game at least. And he got his goal finally. Finally, he kept shooting. I felt like it was gonna like shoot the doors off and just like, because he had done that in the dev camp scrimmage too. He just
Right,
kept
right. He
shooting,
didn't
shooting.
score in the dev camp scrimmage.
But you could tell that he was just getting a little frustrated. So I'm happy that he finally got one. But he was
Yeah,
great.
he was every bit as advertised. Like I said, I was shooting a lot of video, but you can't help but notice that anytime he's one of those guys, every time Utah tried to break it out, the chances are, even if he didn't directly mug them and steal the puck, which he did a couple times
Sure.
actually, but he would make it a lot harder for them to enter, and then maybe one of Macklin's teammates would come in and take the puck, and so no notes.
No
No notes.
notes.
I mean, this level is,
Yeah.
let's call it World Junior Championship caliber. He's too
Sure.
good for this level. He's gonna be, and also the way he plays too. You notice too that he is not when he makes like kind of riskiest passes. He's usually in good defensive position, or somebody is. So he's not a very risky player. And so I noticed him just always being very aware of his man. And I think maybe there's only one time where a guy got ahead of him. His guy got ahead of him, his man, but he knew though. He just whatever something happened, and so but there's just that awareness to him, and that is going to translate immediately. He is a guy that is going to play immediately, and I think he's going to make an impact immediately because he doesn't need to score to be an impactful player. But I think he is going to score too.
Yeah.
I've talked about the offense, right? He plays so fast, like you mentioned. It's really interesting to watch him and Smith because we'll get to Smith in a little bit. But like Smith is such a deliberate player. I'm not saying I'm not saying that as a bad thing. Yeah. But whereas Macklin is all about get the puck, decision, quick pass, go, 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 yeah. And that's a lot of fun, kind of to watch those styles. Those styles are going to mix, maybe not on a line together so much. But or it will maybe end of the game. Maybe that's going to become a thing for the Sharks to put Smith and Celebrini together. But that kind of mix of or that sort of contrast in style was very, very fun to watch too. And yeah, definitely felt that Macklin, no disrespect to his teammates, but he was too fast for them a lot of times. And I think that in NHL it's gonna translate better too because those guys are gonna catch those passes that he's making, or they're gonna be able to get a shot off if the pass is sort of in the area, right? And so I'm very, very, very excited. I know I said no notes, but I have so many notes, and and I would say too that I really enjoy watching him play too. My favorite type of forward is Anze Kopitar, Patrice Bergeron, that type of forward to watch. And so he is that mold. Jonathan Toews, Sidney Crosby, right? He fits that mold. And I always, even in my voting and all those kind of things, right? Like guys that are offense cheat a little bit there. Of course, you have to give respect to them because they're so good offensively and they put up your 100+ points or whatever, right? But you win with guys like Macklin, and so I look forward to seeing this in NHL, and I hope that he continues to develop and progress. He is just 18 and stays healthy, obviously, but he looks like just a winning player. It's going to be such a pleasure to kind of watch him grow up and watch him pull the Sharks out from the last few years of misery.
Yeah, the good times are ahead. But I agree. No notes. He fits the part. He same thing with Dickinson. It's like you really hope your first overall pick is first overall pick quality and like wows you. And
he was, yeah.
Just like you hope your 11th overall pick is 11th overall pick quality. It's like it's a little bit higher expectations, obviously, for one, but he met it in that one.
He met it, yeah. He met it.
So I can't wait for preseason. I just want him to have like an injury-free year of just seeing his growth and development. That's what I want. I don't care how many points he has. I just want to see him play hockey for a full year and see him get better. That's it. He could have 30 points at the end of the year, and as long as he's like looking better by the end of the year and healthy.
But I think for a guy like him, though, a 30-point season from a guy like him, I guess would be disappointing. But he's going to add a two-way component to it.
Sure.
And that to me is equally exciting to me for when I'm watching. Again, like I said, that profile player is my kind of favorite profile.
Yep.
And so I feel like as long as that's strong and he's taking on all the responsibility, he's doing a good job with it in terms of matching up against the best lines or whatever, the offense is going to come. I'm not too worried about that. And so as long as he's doing that part of it, then it's going to be fine. So.
Our next forward is Mr. Colin Graf.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Macklin anymore?
I mean, I got more, but it was only one game, so we don't have a lot of. I've got a lot of tape to watch, unfortunately. His goal was pretty sweet. Macklin's was.
Yeah, very typical, right? He likes shooting from that spot. Apparently, that seems to be a go-to on his power play. But let's go to Colin Graf though. So let's not make it the Macklin hour.
I thought Colin Graf looked a little faster. That would be my a little faster and a little bit more physical than I remember him being in just the few games that we saw at the end of the year. Obviously, it's easier to be physical at this level than it is in the NHL when people are faster than you.
Right. This is. I mean, in his terms, we were talking about World Junior Championships. This is probably like this is high level NCAA.
Yeah, this is his NCAA kind of run.
Right.
So
right.
He looks
like
good.
Frozen 4 or whatever, right? Or better in terms of the caliber, because
he looked good. I think faster is always going to be more important for him because he's not the fleetest of foot and not the doesn't play very fast overall. But he certainly did this tournament, so I wanted to give him a quick shout out on there.
Yeah, he absolutely deserves it. Some sweet passes to Quentin Musty, which you expect from him because he is a playmaker, offensive kind of guy. So it was good progress. I think for him, I would not expect him to break camp with the Sharks. I think he still needs to kind of get acclimated to the pro game. But I would expect him this year to have a very good season with the Barracuda, be productive and be a part of the power play, be a key part of the power play. And that's kind of what you want to see from him this year, and slowly break him back into the NHL, break him into the NHL again over the next couple of years.
Yeah. I know people have, and I think it'll bear out in training camp. People have been like, oh, well, he played at the end of last year, so he's going to play on the Sharks this year. And we've said that before, that it's probably going to be the Barracuda at the beginning of the year.
That's like kind of like, that's like end of season hockey.
Yeah.
They gave and him also, too, they gave him, to get him. I mean, it's not, no one says it, but you don't sign unless you go to NHL games. So, so you can clear that off of his to-do list.
No.
So now it's about him getting better and getting to a true NHL caliber, which he wasn't last year.
Yeah, but he does have a lot of skill, and he's got a lot of traits that could mold over the next couple of years in the Barracuda. So all right, Mr. Colin Graf, we have Kasper Halttunen, Big Tuna Halttunen, which honestly, when I read your article, I was like, that is an amazing nickname. I'm so angry that
Halttunen. That's how it was explained to me. I was like, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, Big Tuna. Like from The Office, but because he's big. And,
he is big. He's huge. I guess he got someone threw a crispy at him during his post game interview. One of his teammates threw that at him, crispy. So I don't know if that's going to stick. But I like Big Tuna. I hope that sticks. So I like a little character. Obviously, the nicknames like Smitty, Cardsy, even Selly, which I do like because Selly means something else. But those are obvious. And actually, sometimes players, you may have heard in interviews, they'll call me Schenger, which is cool to have some kind of be on a nickname level with some of the players. So I appreciate that. But like it's Schenger is
just the same.
It's adding a ER or something, right? So I appreciate it, but but it's something else. So like Big Tuna, I like that. It takes just a little more creativity there. So I really enjoy that. So Halttunen was kind of what you expect of him. When he got that shot off, it's terrifying at this level.
Yep.
It's too good a shot for this level, but there are other things to iron out, more so than sort of his counterpart that we will get to with a kind of a similar offense first game, big winger Musty, right? But I think that Musty is probably more refined than Halttunen at this point, and we kind of saw that. And I don't want to make a big deal about one game, but he took those 3 minor penalties in the last game. He admitted after the game there were stupid penalties. McCarthy said, he wasn't singling out Halttunen. He also said Halttunen had a very good tournament. And when we did see the best of Halttunen, he was very good. Again, he's got a devastating shot. He's a big, powerful body. But McCarthy said that these penalties, a number of them, you don't go with the hack and whack. You got to skate with the guy, get the stick on the puck, and you don't hack and whack. That's how you get called. And so Halttunen still needs to kind of grow out of that. Halttunen also was trucked in the Colorado game by, I forget the name, but number 45 on Colorado. And maybe he was upset by that, but that's also part of you've got to kind of contain your emotions and be disciplined in a game. And so that's something that maybe he has to work on too. So I think we saw a little bit of maybe the best and worst of Kasper. unfortunately. And I think that, but the best is still there. And so I think that these kind of tournaments, you want to emphasize that because, Cagnoni got beat, guys got beat in this tournament. So that's nothing wrong. Smith was on the ice for goals again. I think he may have lost his guy. There's no replay, but that's what I thought my first watch, that he may have lost his guy on one of the goals against, right? So that happens, right? So
Sure.
not gonna pick on too much of the negative. So the positives are there for him, but he's got to work on it. And I think that he is best suited to go back to London to work on that, even though he is eligible for the AHL or NHL this year.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with Casper is obviously he's a sniper. That's his mold of player, and you have to be, if you're going to be a sniper in the NHL level, you have to not be.
It's more of a howitzer, like a cannon.
Yeah, more of a cannon. You have to not be a negative at even strength, first of all, and if you can chip out a way to at least make an impact at even strength, you can stick it in the NHL with your shot on the power play.
Right.
But if you can't and you are a detriment to your team, obviously like penalties or whatever, but just not, I feel like he doesn't carry the play at evens, especially with players that he was playing up with as well. It's tough. You need more time essentially to be able to get to refine your own game, just one-on-one as a player. Then you're right, like getting forechecking and getting the puck back for your other players that you're playing with. It's tough because certain snipers obviously make a career out of just hammering pucks, but people always point to Ovechkin and even to a lesser extent Laine, but Ovechkin, like for years and years, was still a dominant force of even strength and the power play. Like he had the one-on-one skill. He was physical. He was a monster for years. Right now, He doesn't really do too much, but he's Ovi. It's fine. Whereas like Laine, you could see that there was times when he was an okay even strength player, but even as like recently as this past couple of years, he's dumped for he's literally dumped for nothing from Columbus. That's the mold of what Casper is. So you have to, if you're going to make the NHL, you've got to make an impact at even strength, or else they can't put you in the lineup high enough to justify your spot. So I don't know. He needs time.
He needs time. That's okay.
That shot though, like one of those shots, it missed the net, but I was like, holy. Honestly, like I worry for people. Like it's so fat. Like it's an impressive shot, especially his one-timer is amazing. So. I don't know. He needs time.
That shot is very, very much that Michael Jordan meme. Fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids. Yeah. I'm worried he's going to hit somebody.
Yeah. But take your head off.
Yeah. One of them, missed the net, went right past the goaltender. And I was like, that thing's already back to where Casper is by the time I could blink. It's like, boom, boom, back to him. Or like close to him. So anyway, he's got a fantastic shot. But as opposed to, is he next? He is next. Wow, that's good timing. As opposed to Musty.
Great. Perfect timing.
I didn't expect a lot from Musty because I figured that he was going to go back to juniors just based on things that we had talked about from last offseason or from the offseason and everything. But yeah, he's one of those guys that seemingly can be having a bad game, but then also put up a hat trick at the same time, or like have a invisible game, but then have 3 assists. He just is a very good complementary offensive winger that can pile up points because of how quickly he can connect plays and his playmaking. His shot is really good. So there were times when I thought Musty was a little bit like behind Smith and Celebrini in terms of pushing play, but by the end of the tournament, he looked great.
Yeah, no, he did. He really looked great in this tournament. I would say I don't want to compare too much between the two guys, Musty and Halttunen, because it's not fair to either of them. But
different players.
I will say, different kind of players. But I would say though that in terms of things for Halttunen to work on, that Haltonen's got to work on connecting plays in the neutral zone, things like that, right? He's got to work on being more of a presence on the forecheck. Yep. And these are things that Musty actually excelled on for a lot of this tournament in terms of just being that complimentary kind of player, not just being a guy that finished when he had a chance, which he did too. But kind of the things that lead to goals and chances, Musty was doing a lot of this in this tournament. He also was part of what I'm talking about, that kind of that devastating forecheck that the Sharks had throughout this tournament. Just guys couldn't get out of the opposition couldn't get out of the defensive zone, or they couldn't do anything in the neutral zone, was partly because of guys like Musty and sort of their tenacity and whatnot. So this definitely was a tournament where I think, yeah, definitely that Musty dominated. He should to some degree, but he also showed more repertoire in, I think, his skill set. And I did. This was one interesting conversation that I did have with a scout. That take it for what you will. I asked the scout, well, obviously Macklin can help the Sharks this year, and anybody else you see out there. And the first name that popped up in this scout's head wasn't Smith; it was Musty. Yeah. And what he said about Musty, though, was very cautionary. Guys, scouts are very careful about installing 18, 19-year-olds in the NHL, and they should be. And you all should be too. I think people are running away a little bit too much with it. But the scout said, though, that don't know if the offense will translate to the higher level. But if it does in some kind of way, if you see it in the preseason, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that Musty is intriguing. Let's see if this can translate to the preseason, and then let's see if it can translate to the AHL, because Musty is still raw in a lot of areas, and so I would not, just because he is big and strong and fast, and at least as a direct skater, that doesn't mean, just like Dickinson, right? Dickinson has all these tools, right? Doesn't mean Dickinson's ready for NHL. Yep. Same thing with Musty. Musty has a lot of these tools that he's showing. Doesn't mean he's ready for NHL. But definitely, though, being a winger, the bar to be a successful NHL winger is lower than being a successful NHL defenseman. And so I can see it with Musty a little more than Dickinson as soon as this year. And he had a very good tournament. We talk about, again, these other things, right? If all Musty was doing was scoring goals, then unless he's doing that, unless he's popping in 30 NHL level, he's not a useful NHL player yet.
Yep.
But if he's doing these other things that help the offense go, connecting plays, or you talked about being a useful player on the forecheck, he's not going to dominate on the forecheck in the NHL like he did at Rookie Faceoff. I don't expect that. That's not fair to him. But can he be a positive, like you mentioned, just overall positive, even strength player at the NHL level or at 5-on-5, and then show his offense in other ways? Then wouldn't rule it out. I still think that, we talked to Todd Marchand, and we got the sense when we talked to Todd Marchand for the last time we talked to Todd, the 50th episode over the summer, that he definitely gave the vibe that, man, he wished that Quentin was eligible to go to the AHL, because that seems like about the right place for him right now. The OHL is not a high enough level for him right now to kind of iron out the things that Quentin does need to iron out in his game. And AHL might be too high for him. But to Quentin's credit, though, this tournament does not dispel the notion that maybe he can get a few games in NHL, and we can see where it goes. But I don't want to get that far ahead, though. Let's see first preseason. I think that he will get a good look preseason. Let's see if he can do the same kind of thing where he's, again, a great complementary winger with his playmaking line mates. Smith set him up beautifully in I think it was the first game, or maybe it was the second. No, it was the second game. And so whoever he's going to play with in preseason, a Wenberg, a Granlund, or whoever they try him with, if he can keep pushing the play like he did at this tournament, make a case for himself. And so I guess what I'm saying is that I know we talked about Musty last week as sort of a potential bust, right? Just because of offensive first wingers that don't offer as much of the B game. That's often what happens to guys like that, right? And I think that is true too, because as productive as he was in this tournament, really have no idea really how that's going to translate to the higher levels yet. So I'm not as sure about his offensive ceiling as I am with Celebrini or Smith either. Part of it is just because those guys, their hockey brains are just in another place. That's no disrespect to Musty, but
Mhm.
those guys have elite hockey brains. Uh, so Musty is a little bit more of a direct player. Musty, I guess that's one thing I'd say about Musty. I wonder if you agree with that. Musty is a more kind of depends more on just physical traits. And
Yeah.
so if that doesn't translate, then which it may not to the NHL level, then it's going to be a little harder for his adjustment. Not to say that Musty is a smart player. I'm not saying
Mhm.
he's not a smart player. I'm just saying that part of his dominance in this tournament was his size, was his speed,
Sure.
physical kind of traits. Whereas Smith and Celebrini kind of are on a more cerebral kind of.
Yeah.
Obviously, they need to be strong enough and fast enough for NHL too, but they can compensate a little bit with their brains, more so. So
I,
anyway, though,
I think Musty has a not an issue, but his offensive game is very much like built around rush chances and
yeah,
odd man chances
which is a lot
against,
speed and yeah.
and it's built off of things that don't happen in the NHL level as frequently.
Mm.
It's built on a lot of junior level offense, which you know he's a smart player and he has a lot of the physical tools to be able to adapt his game, but it's going to take time. But if he does, I mean, I think last year at some point when I was watching the OHL, Musty looked so good that I put out a tweet that was like, I bet Musty makes the Sharks roster next year. Just because,
Mm.
like, there are certain times when he's too good for the junior level. He's creating offense in ways that, like, it seems like he's out there on his own, just circling around the offensive zone, constant 2-on-1s, just he's too good for that level. So where do you
Hmm.
put him? Like, do you try and drag him along and do 9 NHL games, then have him do a conditioning stint for Barracuda, then have him go to the World Juniors,
I don't
and
know if
then
that's good for him.
I know that they did that with Shane Wright last year, 2 years ago. Not they, I mean the Kraken did that where they didn't want to send him back to the OHL, and he was like in this between mode. And it worked out okay. Like he developed fine. He's been developing fine. But I wonder if they try something like that this year with Musty. But we'll see in training camp.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess I would say though that after this tournament, though, I am more open to
Sure.
maybe he does get those 9 games and see. I still don't expect that he would be with the Sharks all year,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, the roster's
I live
kind
to be
of
proven
packed.
wrong.
Yeah, that's true. We would love to be proven wrong if
Yes,
one of our
exactly.
recent first rounders made the Sharks.
A late
Um,
first rounder too.
yeah, one that like should have probably been drafted higher than 26th, but or 28th. I don't even remember where he was
26.
drafted.
He was 26. Yeah.
But the problem is that the roster's getting a little packed right now. We are at 14 forwards with Celebrini, Smith, and Eklund up. Just
Right.
on
So for Musty to make this roster, it'll probably also be in a scoring role. So then he has. That's the one thing that is,
Mhm.
if you can score and be passable at even strength, then
Yep.
you can make the Sharks, because the Sharks, they are full up of bottom six forwards and also ideal bottom six forward types, right? So Musty
Yeah.
doesn't really fit in there. But if you can pop in 20, 25, and this is for anybody, this is for Gushin, this is for Bordalo, this is for
Hmm.
Musty. If you can do that and be passable at even strength, then you're good enough to play on the Sharks top six, because right now the Sharks top six isn't as competitive as the Sharks bottom six. So it's a high bar, obviously, to ask of Musty, but if he can do that, then maybe he does stick all year if if he shows he can do that.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch. There's so many more storylines for training camp that we're gonna have to cover on next week's podcast, but that's definitely gonna be one. Is where Musty ends up. 'Cause I think last year he was injured, and that's why he was one of the late cuts from training camp.
Right.
But this year I expected if he's cut or a late cut for
But he
Musty.
definitely caught my eye more in this kind of rookie than last year.
Yep.
Right. So I definitely have to give him credit for that. But I do agree with you though. Some of the stuff he did though is not going to work in the NHL. Like his goal that I talked about Smith, right?
Yeah.
And Smith being very deliberate, and then just basically Smith got all the attention up high, and then he handed it off to Musty, and Musty just cruised to the front of the net.
Yeah.
I blew by whatever defender was trying to keep up with Musty. That's not likely to happen in NHL a lot.
Yeah, I know. And that's the problem is
So
a lot of his offense doesn't seem to be entirely translatable yet. He needs to develop but he can't do that if he's in juniors. So I don't know. We'll see.
What do you predict with him then right now after seeing this rookie faceoff tournament? Do you think he gets to the 9 games? I still would say no, but I'm kind of warming up to the idea, I guess. So.
Pre-training camp, seeing him in any preseason games,
Yeah,
I
of
would
course.
say,
Yeah, of course.
I would say, yeah, I think he gets the 9 games.
You think he gets 9 games? Okay.
And then goes back to juniors.
Cool. Okay.
Probably some sort of like injury, or they do something funky, hokey to get him to stay for 9 games.
I guess I got to look into that because I thought Wright had some kind of exceptional. I got to look into all that, just how much you can push it to get him into the AHL somehow. So because anyway, I did look. I haven't really looked into that. I didn't really follow that story very closely with whatever was going on.
There's a way to do it, like in terms of how to keep them up for like, and I think he ended up going back to juniors or something like that. Yeah, he did. After his draft plus 1, he eventually went back, but he played 8 NHL games, 8 AHL games. He played the World Juniors, and then he went back for like the playoffs essentially for the OHL. So that could be something that you consider with Musty, is like get him in NHL, AHL, World Juniors, and then put him back for the important games for Sudbury or whoever he plays for.
Right.
Theoretically. I don't know. That's going to be or they just send him back and say, you know what, work on your stuff, kid.
You can still work on your stuff, even if your team is more offensive leaning. So, it's not as ideal, but...
He definitely showed a quicker Musty, though, overall. I felt like his quickness was definitely on display.
He talked about getting leaner, and so, I agree with that. He showed kind of because my impression of him previous last year was just a very direct finisher and good at that. And he did a little more. He was still he didn't lose any of the directness and the finishing, but again, look quicker, connecting plays, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, definitely added to his repertoire a bit.
All right, our next forward is one William Smithium. I think I like the word that you said, deliberate. That's just a very Smith thing. He likes to create.
Musty goal again. Yeah, perfect example of that.
He's an exceptional playmaker, especially on the power play, and it's a stark contrast between how Celebrini plays and how Smith plays.
I never watched them together. Was just that was very, very interesting. I would say that Smith can run. I think Smith can run an NHL power play now. Right now, I think that he can be a positive on an NHL power play. Maybe not run is too strong a word, but he can be a positive on a top NHL power play now. I think the rest of his game, though, will take some ironing out. I think there will definitely be some growing pains there, which won't be so much with the Celebrini type. I know these guys are tied kind of by the hip. So I think you got to prepare for that too. But once the puck got into the offensive zone, in most cases with Smith, he was definitely a joy to watch in a rookie faceoff, even though he didn't put up a lot of points and whatnot. Sure. And I also like to, I think it was the second game, I asked him about it, that the Sharks got off to a slow start in that game versus Anaheim. I think they ended up winning 7-2. But the first period was kind of penalty filled and whatnot. And I noticed, though, that on the first power play, Smith, again, in terms of running a power play, he took control. And I think he got like 2 or 3 shots off in the first like 30 seconds or so of the power play, or first like minute or so. And I think that was intentional. I asked him, and he said it was. And it's kind of, he recognized at that moment that, okay, I need to get us back on track, get some shots, get into the middle, get some shots off. And to me, that it speaks to kind of his sense of, not his hockey sense in terms of on spatial, but in terms of his sense of momentum as a guy that was sort of heading the Sharks power play when he was out there. And so I think that stuff it's going to be a little bit, like I said, we're going to see a little bit of the highs and lows of them this year. Yeah. And it's going to be a learning year for him for sure. I think that I still would definitely put him ahead of Musty in terms of sort of the NHL readiness, because like I said, I'm pretty sure that Smith can be part of a top NHL power play. Maybe not the head guy, but a part of it, and be a good part of it already. I don't know if Musty can do anything, even though it's just special teams. I don't know if Musty can do anything in particular like that, where you say, oh, Musty can be part of your PK immediately, or Musty can be part of an NHL forecheck immediately, a good part of it. So that's kind of why I'm still kind of seeing Smith being more ready to break camp with the Sharks.
Yep.
And also Smith has more options too. Anyway, he can go to AHL a little bit to get that seasoning, but yeah, I think it's going to be, like I said, we're going to see a little bit of both faces with Smith this year.
I think there will be a little bit of growing pains for Smith off the power play, and on the power play too. It's still hard to run an NHL power play, but that's where I think he's going to get a lot of his points this year. Is just on that, if they keep him on that like left point position, because that seems to be where he's the most comfortable. He was at BC, and where he's looking good now. I think, you have to kind of take the good with the bad, and at certain points he's going to get stymied at even strength a lot, I think, as a primary line. So, but on the power play, I think he's got a great opportunity for the Sharks.
I suspect that he will offensively get up to speed on the even strength pretty quickly too, that he can be a contributor. I just think other stuff though will be the scout that I talked about him said work in progress.
Yeah,
that's a nice way of putting all other zones, off puck play, all those kind of things will be a work in progress with him.
Yeah, it's going to be a growth year. He's still only 19 or however old he is. 20? 19.
19. I can see him sitting a game or two, that kind of thing too. I don't think it's any big deal. Maybe he does get sent down for a little bit, but I also think he will break camp with the Sharks.
Here's my dream power play, and I think I put this on HF boards as a semi joke, but it's like here's what I like. I like the left point as Smith. I like the right point as Wallman because it gives kind of that right to left connection for one timers, and Wallman's best attribute is his one timer and his shot from Smith to Wallman. And then I got the half wall on the right as Celebrini because it's kind of where he sits and he likes to shoot from. I like Eklund like behind the net. Just because he creates a lot of good offense behind the net. I think he could play well with Celebrini behind the net. And then at the other side, I like Toffoli just because he's a pro, he's a vet. He can make the power play tick a little bit on the other side.
Mikhail Granlund.
Yeah, well, Granlund can help with the second. Him, Mukamadulin. Who else? Zetterlund will be on that one. Yeah. I don't know who else it would be on our second power play. Who else we got? That's pretty much all the offensive leading guys that we have, right? I mean, Musty. There we go. Musty, I forgot.
Musty. Wenberg's a guy that could definitely help a power play.
Yeah. I'm not that Granlund is, like, obviously he put up the most points last year. He has one of the better offensive records, and he might end up just taking where Smith was, and that's that. But
Bordeleau, if Bordeleau does Bordeleau is one of those guys that his 5-on-5 game is obviously what's kind of holding him back from full-time NHL role. He's an asset on the power play. He actually was very, very good on the power play at the end of the season for the Sharks. A big part of why the power play was so strong last year at the end of the season. So I want to give him that credit, that I think he's an asset on the power play too. Yeah.
So our second will be Granlund, Zetterlund, Mukamadulin, Bordeleau, Wenberg, maybe.
Yeah, that's exciting. Exciting. That's
It's a better Sharks team than last year, for sure.
Should be.
I like Smith. I don't know if I have anything else to say about him. I thought he looked okay overall. I wouldn't say it was like, there was obviously moments where you could tell Smith and Celebrini just have the skill level above everybody else, including most of the other teams as well.
Right.
That it was just exciting to see those two caliber of players. There's different styles, but I enjoy the contrast between them.
Yeah. But Smith didn't dominate wire to wire like Celebrini did in his one game, and even Musty
or Smith in his Dev Camp game where he was a monster.
Right, which he was, yeah. So
preseason's coming up. All right, last player that we're gonna mention is Carson Wetch.
Oh yeah, that's just me. I really enjoyed watching him. I liked his physicality. I think that there's definitely that potential that he's going to be a kind of a fan favorite, bottom six disturber, maybe up to third line. Not sure about that yet. Definitely, I don't know if he has the offense for that. but I definitely like what I saw there, and it was impressive. This tournament is a lot of kids, but it's also a lot of 21, 22, a lot of pro hockey players in this tournament. And I think it's Carson. Yeah, Carson has been in the WHL, so this is his first extended experience. I think in a kind of a pro setting or playing against a lot of pro players. And I think he matched up physically. And like I said, he was part of that third line in the second game that was actually quite impactful in the first period, throwing his body around all over the place. And so I liked what I saw out of him.
Love it. He's the future. Trying to think of either an NHL comparable.
I don't know, Cal Clutterbuck, a Matt Martin. If he can do that,
yeah,
if he can pop in 10 goals and agitate the other team, and he's going to be a very, very valuable NHL player if he can do all that. And I think the potential is there for that.
No, you hope he goes back and grows his game offensively.
Yeah, he's going back. He's going back, but yeah, you hope that you see those numbers mushroom.
Yeah, gains enough of a skill above everybody else that he can, get above point per game and be a good WHL player, and then come back in a couple of years and take some Barracuda time and develop into that. Take the Ethan Cardwell route.
Yeah, who knows? He already is, of course, Celebrini's buddy. They grew up together, knowing each other since I think they're 3 or 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe he'll be kind of, if he adds enough skill, he can sort of be the complimentary protector, bodyguard / puck retriever on a Celebrini line in the future. So that'll be a nice story.
That's it. That's all we have to mention. I don't think there's anybody else that we have written down.
Yeah, there's other guys, obviously a lot of forwards, so no disrespect. Also the goalies too, we didn't really talk about, but those are the names that sort of jumped out to us, and we wanted to get you this episode quick. So we're not going to go over every name because I know training camp's going to be in a couple of days, and that's going to be another story.
Yeah, and we get to actually see guys like Askarov and Mukamadulin and Gushchin and guys that we are kind of on that borderline of NHL, AHL to really harp on next week.
Right. And we are on this, I think we should maybe our next episode, top 10 prospects might be about time because I want to do that after Rookie Faceoff. So now we've gotten a look at some of these guys.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that for next week.
Yeah.
And also have some training camp reactions.
Yeah,
et
of
cetera.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. Anything else for you this week, Shang?
It sounds good for me. Yeah, I gotta drive up now from LA.
Sounds good. All right, y'all. Hope you have a good week. Bye.
Bye.